Good evening, Niner Faithful. Welcome to another episode of the live member call-in show for members here of Rob Schuh's channel, affectionately known as the Sneakerhead community here. I have copied and pasted the link into the chat. That link will take you to the community tab of my YouTube page, wherein if you are a member of this channel, you'll be able to find the StreamYard link that will take you backstage as we have some of the channel members back there right now. So this topic for today, as always on these member call-in shows, it's all about what you want to talk about, the faithful. So whatever topics you bring to the table, whether they be, preseason related, Trey related, Jimmy related, defense related, whatever is on your mind, that's what we're going to talk about. But I always try to have sort of a master topic when we come out here. And today my mind was on Jimmy Garoppolo because the stories just keep coming out. And I know most people like myself are exhausted by it, but it still feels like a situation that if we're covering the 49ers that we have to talk about first and foremost. It must be covered because unfortunately, as long as Jimmy Garoppolo is on the roster, it is a valid topic of conversation. And it keeps coming up in source material. Matt Mayoko and Jennifer Lee Chan's podcast came out today, wherein Steve Young was speaking about Jimmy. You have a couple of pieces of news trickling out over the last couple of days that becomes source material. And then Matt Barrows wrote a spectacular piece, as far as I'm concerned, for The Athletic that also came out today talking about Jimmy. And that was where I wanted to start. That was the place that inspired this Jimmy conversation. After I acknowledged that people may be exhausted by it, I also want to acknowledge those that are here in the chat. I absolutely love the back and forth that we have on this channel. So it is critical for me to acknowledge that. We got Jimmy J in the building here for the Jimmy conversation. If it's going to be about Jimmy, it's important that we have a Jimmy in the building. So thank you for your attendance, Jimmy J, in Conversations About Jimmy G. We got Charles Thurman in the building. Hello, Rob. Hope all is well. Go 49ers. We got Skyfold in here. Dan Rostek, Raphael 5629ers, Alan Elizer 916 49ers, Spy Nick Danger. We have got a full chat. I absolutely love it. People doing the good work in the chat section. So let me get into a little bit about the Jimmy basics here. Matt Barrows sums this up basically by saying the guy gets too much grief. And I will say, even I am in that camp, that we can be critical of Jimmy Garoppolo, but you have to have balanced coverage. And Matt does a good job in the beginning of the article building that out, right? Giving both sides of the equation, because Jimmy is both a talented quarterback and a flawed quarterback. Both of those things are true at the same time, even though we like to skew towards one or the other. And like I said, I'm guilty of that in small amounts, I would hope, because I'm exhausted by the saga that's been going on right now. So even I have fallen guilty to making fun of the situation, making fun of Jimmy Garoppolo tangentially because I'm making fun of the situation. But I want to call out, and Matt Barrows does as well. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Here is the summing up of Jimmy Garoppolo that I found to be, again, Matt Barrows' humor in here as well as his eloquence. I couldn't say it any better, so I'm just going to do a direct quote from Matt Barrows' article today. Is he going to crush the long ball? Nope. Will he be a booming voice in the locker room, the guy who organizes player-run practices in the offseason? Absolutely not. You'll be lucky if he returns your text. Does he have a blind spot for lurking linebackers? Kinda. Will he start a full season for your team? Doubtful. That absolutely sums up like the flaws of Jimmy Garoppolo in that summary there. I love Matt's writing style, the fantastic sense of humor, but he also goes on to point out that the Garoppolo, he does deserve more credit than he gets as well. Very serviceable starting quarterback, better than at least a third of the other starting quarterbacks in the NFL. That's my humble opinion. That's not putting words in Matt Barrows' mouth. It just seems to me that if we're going to sum this up, there's still going to be a market for Jimmy. I know that we like to say that there isn't. I believe there will be a market for Jimmy, and it's regardless of whether it's a trade or a cut, right? If he is cut, teams are going to line up to try him out, bring him in, and sign him at their own number. If it's a trade, you're talking about very limited potential partners at this point. But his camp is flexible at this point. They've at least publicly expressed a willingness to speak with teams, negotiate some new deal. You have to assume, based on basic understanding of leverage concepts in negotiation, Jimmy's camp will have to concede a more modest deal or a renegotiation at this point. If it does remain a 1-year deal, like in the case of Jimmy being traded to Cleveland, perhaps, does it reflect Baker Mayfield's trade, where each party had to eat some portion of the salary to get the deal done? You could see that happening in Jimmy's deal, but in my summation of that, the Niners would most likely eat a smaller percentage than the Cleveland Browns did in that case because of, again, leverage. The idea that Jimmy's money isn't guaranteed as Baker Mayfield's was, and perhaps Jimmy eats a larger percentage than Baker did in salary reduction. After all, he couldn't possibly hit that $26 million on the open market or the $24.2 that remains unguaranteed. I don't think he's going to hit that. So you would think in order to maximize his money, he'd be willing to take a little bit of a pay cut. And the last piece of the summary that I think people don't want to hear, that I don't want to hear, but we've all got to buckle up for, and Steve Young was saying this as well, he even hinted at that 5% chance that Jimmy's on the roster come the start of the year. But there's no rush for the 49ers at this point, and that is unfortunate. The real deadline is August 30th in my mind. That's when the 49ers cut down to 53. Jimmy's additional $24.2 million becomes guaranteed. So until we get to that point, it's about buckling up. All right, I want to get to your calls, bring everybody in here. We are starting off with Chris Royal coming into the stream. Chris, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I am doing very well. Appreciate it. How are you dealing with this ongoing saga? Here we are, another week. Thankfully, just one more week before we have actual practices happening. So just one more week of calls where it's about speculation. It's about what could happen. Is the trade coming? It feels like we're going to get resolution soon, but how are you handling it?
Yeah, I'm handling it like everybody else. I think we're all kind of numb to this whole, charade and just ready for it to be done and over with.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So what do you have on your mind today? What's going on with you and the 49ers? What questions do you have for today's topics?
Well, I guess it, comes, I read something about Tom Pelissero saying that they talked to his agent and they're expecting a deal to get done by the end of this month, which I thought is sooner than I thought we were going to, because I thought they were going to drag it out until sometime next month. But I'm really, crossing my fingers. And I mean, what do you think? Do you think that's something that they're going to end up pulling the trigger on?
I'm optimistic. I like to be optimistic. I want to be optimistic about this. I want to believe that Jimmy is going to get traded by the end of the month. But mainly that's because of the insanity of having to continue talking about it and thinking about the potential scenarios. I could see this dragging out. And the reason that I'm skeptical about it happening right away is it just isn't clear to me that we have multiple suitors at this point. And so it seems like certainly one of the hinge points will be the Deshaun Watson suspension. As soon as that gets handed out, Cleveland will have a better idea of what they want to do. But if they get a sense that the 49ers don't have any other legitimate trade partners, do they move the needle quickly, right? Is it that much of a priority for them to get Jimmy Garoppolo into camp sooner rather than later, such that they make a trade? Or does it feel more important on their end to feel like they win the deal, so to speak, so that it makes them look better in having just given, $250 million to Deshaun Watson, who's now going to be suspended for some period of time?
Yeah, and what I found interesting is that his agent specifically said that they're expecting to be traded. So, that would lead me to believe that they've got some sort of like inside knowledge that there are teams calling and possibly willing to float some stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, the story has been reported that the 49ers, Jimmy's camp, they're putting out word now that they are open to negotiation. The team has given approval for teams to negotiate a new contract with Jimmy Garoppolo and his camp has come out and publicly said, we are willing to negotiate at this point. it seems like everybody's got the lights on for let's make a deal. And so if there is an interested team that has some aggression in getting a deal done in a specific time frame, then it could materialize pretty soon. I mean, we've now got word that Jimmy's been throwing for a little bit. You know, you had that initial report, sort of had that echoed today in Matt Barrows's piece for The Athletic. It's you know, everybody's talking about movement at this point. Even in Matt Mayoko's podcast that came out today, there is the indication that it could come soon. I guess I'm bracing for the long run so that I don't have another round of disappointment. Yeah,
definitely. That's kind of where I'm at too. As far as the Seahawks go, I mean, what do you think that the 49ers, do you think they're going to ask for more than what they probably should if they're going to trade them inside the division?
I certainly get a sense that they would ask for more than they're asking from other folks, just because you're sending it within the division. And initially, I was really okay with the idea of sending Jimmy to Seattle because I wrapped my head around it thinking, well, if we give them a quarterback that is, you know, a mid-level quarterback, he's not a star, in my opinion. He is a good quarterback, but I would put him in that average category, the 15 to 20 range as far as NFL quarterbacks go. To me, I would rather have Seattle have a quarterback in that 15 to 20 range that maybe keeps them relevant, but not propels them to the elite echelon for the next 5 years. I'm fine with Seattle being relevant and not being elite. My fear was that they would tank 1 year and then hit on the next quarterback. But it really does turn out that they could probably package their existing picks, maybe a future first, and move up as we did and select their quarterback anyway. So they could have the best of both worlds if they wanted to. I hope that the Niners don't shoot themselves in the foot because the top priority is trading Jimmy Garoppolo. So I could see asking a little bit more from Seattle, but if you ask so much that you've now turned off another suitor, how many more are out there at this point?
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going with it, you know, like I hope that they just take what they can get, you know, even if it's, you know, a late fourth, early fifth, and then we hopefully don't eat any of the, you know, the money on it, but
right.
Don't play with fire. Just if they're going to offer something, you know, just rip the Band-Aid off and get rid of them.
Yeah, right. You have to at this point. I want to bring in Philip's comment here just to get it into the conversation. At Rob, I predict Jimmy on the roster until opening day during the season. Oh, until unopening during the season. So Philip predicting that potentially the 49ers hang on to him, allow him to stay on August 30th when that contract becomes guaranteed, in the hopes that, you know, some position opens up during the season, potentially through injury or whatnot. I have heard this. Philip is not alone in having this stance. And it could be a path that the 49ers choose to go. John Lynch has expressed a pretty true stubborn streak when it comes to getting value for Jimmy Garoppolo. It would seem that his value was a bit high for early on in the offseason, but obviously the surgery also sidetracked that. This to me is just a highly risky strategy. You now are keeping Jimmy Garoppolo for an additional $24 million. If you are able to trade him, you recoup some of that money. You maybe get a higher draft pick. But if no injuries occur in the league and you keep him as a $26 million backup, paying him the additional $24.2 million, that just feels like a losing proposition in my mind. So it's a little too high risk for me. Would you consider this, keeping Jimmy into the regular season and waiting for some other trade opportunity to arise?
I mean, I would see why somebody'd want to do it. I think you'd probably get better draft capital if an injury happened and then you were able to move them to a team that absolutely needed somebody right now.
Right.
But like you said, I think it would cause too much drama that, you know, Trey Lance doesn't need. He needs to be the guy, not be looking behind his, you know, shoulder for, you know, if he screws up, Jimmy possibly coming in or the crowd chanting for Jimmy or this or that. Like, just I'd get rid of him if I, you know, as soon as I could.
I agree. You know, I have said that on a couple of occasions that every now and then you get a little bit of pushback of, no, it's supposed to be iron sharpens iron. And they go back to, well, Steve Young was in the same locker room as Joe Montana and that worked out well. But I even heard Steve Young today on the Matt Mayoko podcast giving his insight on that idea that with Jimmy in the locker room, because he is so respected, because he is so well liked, that would in fact hinder Trey's ability to truly grab hold of that leadership role and really own the locker room from an emotional, a leadership standpoint. And so I'm listening to Steve on that. That was already my intuition as well. I think that's a very real consideration and a reason on top of several others, money being one of the primary drivers, that you would get Jimmy Garoppolo off of the team so that it truly can be Trey Lance's.
Yeah, and I would add to that, if it was any other position, I would possibly think about that.
Right.
But
allow some of that competition in camp.
Right. And then, if that was your goal, is to try to get the most out of them. If it was any other position, I'd be a little bit more open to doing that. But with the quarterback position, I mean, you need to know who your leader is going forward into the season, no doubts. And if he's on the team, we've already seen it. There's going to be doubts. There's going to be people cheering for him, people cheering against him. And if Jimmy's not on the team, they can't, there's none of that going on.
No doubt about that. It just makes it so much cleaner in that respect. Agreed. John Bennett, Strider 3006, came in with another comment about Jimmy to Seattle, saying, Rob, trade Jimmy to Seattle for a fourth and Geno Smith. Nets a veteran backup who may be a better option than Sudfeld. I actually like these creative trades that bring back a player. In particular, if you're going to be able to bring back a suitable backup quarterback, I would really dig that. I'd like to get a fourth for Jimmy. I think at this point in time, that's about right in the compensation. I wouldn't be shocked if it was lower than that. I wouldn't be shocked if it was a fifth. I'd be pretty surprised if it was higher than a fourth. If we end up with a third without having to eat a considerable amount of salary, I'll be pretty pleasantly surprised by that. This would feel maybe in the 49ers' favor, getting both the fourth and Geno Smith. I don't know that this is at all likely, but again, as a hypothetical, I'm with it. Would you make this trade if you could, Chris?
Oh, yeah, I definitely would. I think Geno Smith is a little bit more to Trey Lance's skill set than Sudfeld. So right. If Trey Lance were to get injured for a game or two, you wouldn't have to really change a whole lot of the offense to, keep it going. So I would definitely take Geno Smith over Sudfeld, and I would for sure take that trade if that was a possibility.
Yes, as would I. That feels like a good trade there. I would make that one. Very nice. Any other Niner topics on your mind, Chris?
No, I got nothing for you.
Well, I tell you what, this is a good start to a Wednesday call. I like, it's a little bit off. Usually this would be between two beards time, but I'm really digging getting in this call because the reason it is Wednesday instead of Thursday, I'm headed out to Bend tomorrow. So it's going to be a little warm out there. I think it hits mid-90s, but I'm going to get to see my folks, get that nice road trip in there. So I'm pretty excited. You got any good plans coming up for the weekend, my friend?
Not really. We're just going to soak up the sun, and that's about it.
Summertime has hit in Oregon, and Chris and I are soaking it in. Yes. Hey, it's always good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too. Enjoy your family time.
I certainly will. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.
All right. Take care. All right. We are bringing in Korean 49er to the stream. Korean 49er, how you doing today?
I'm good, Rob. How are you?
I am doing well, sir.
So it's Wednesday, so I didn't skip leg day this week, so I get to have that rest of the 3 or 4 days.
Are you feeling it right now?
A little jelly-like, nothing too bad yet.
Yeah. Every now and then, the squats really kick my ass. Like if I'm in the middle of a routine and I throw in a good, weighted squat, that it just takes my breath away in doing that. By the end of it, I'm exhausted. I got to take a breather in between sets of that for sure. That is one that can sap all of my energy in a workout for sure. And then the rest of the day, you just feel a little mildly unstable.
Do one-legged wall squats. Those hurt bad.
Ooh, yes. I was doing a similar pattern to that where I had my back leg not on the wall, but on like a rotating piece that allows a little bit of motion there. And yes, that was kicking my ass the other day.
So, yep, always fun.
Yes, it is.
So, several topics. The first one is on Jimmy being traded. What's the most important thing for this team if they keep Jimmy? You have that money tied up.
Yeah.
And remember last year when John Lynch had to sign Josh Norman, I can't remember the other cornerback. Remember Drake Kirkpatrick? Remember how bad they played during stretches of the season? I was like, really? We have to go to that end of the bargain bin to try to find a player or two?
Yeah.
To me, you can get a little bit better player if you had the money open.
It's true. Had they decided to go with Trey Lance last year, had they then reallocated those funds elsewhere, they would have created a stronger roster. And you could argue, given the way things turned out last year, that maybe that was the difference in fielding a team that does bring home that sixth Lombardi. You could give it the other way in saying that you're not going to win as many games with Trey Lance out there. But you do get him the reps and you do allow him that time to grow as a quarterback. And you might feel a little bit better about this season. You'd at least have a little more certainty. So I could understand that for sure.
Yeah, and to me, you could have done what the Steelers did with Ben Roethlisberger and the Seahawks did with Russell Wilson their rookie years. If we have a decent defense and a good running game, you could rely on that and just say, hey, Trey, just make 15 throws a game.
It's true. I mean, that has worked in the past. The 49ers seem to have a, talented defense that could have been even better had they allocated that money towards some players that, again, as you were saying, maybe depth along the cornerback position. Certainly going into the year, you knew that you were taking a risk with Jason Verrett on his 1-year contract. And so you would think if you had additional assets, additional resources, more cap dollars to spend, and you did, in fact, spend them, you might have shored up that cornerback position, and that might have assisted.
So then that kind of leads to the next topic. Why are we thinking that John Lynch is going to suddenly think he won the trade by, getting an asset for Jimmy? A wise professor said, you win some, you lose some, it's all the same to me. If anyone doesn't know that, that's Motorhead Ace of Spades. And look at who is the best coach right now, Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
How many trades does he win? I don't think he really cares about if he lost a trade or not.
No.
I don't know why John is thinking, oh, I lost this trade. You already lost by getting D Ford and trading away Buckner. I mean, what do you want? Sometimes you got to break eggs to make an omelet.
I like your point here is that you act with conviction, right? Like, it is Trey's team. Stop obsessing about winning the Jimmy Garoppolo trade and get him off of the books so that you can move forward with this other plan. Don't obsess over a little difference in compensation for the trade. Did I interpret you correctly in sort of that summation?
I believe so. I mean, it's not like they knew that Jimmy was going to be the next Tom Brady, in the 2007 season when they brought him over. I mean,
right,
he wasn't
2017.
Yeah. So it wasn't like Jimmy was throwing their ball down the field. They're just going up and down the field scoring 42 points every game and no one stopping them like that 2007 Patriots team.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I mean, that 2017, that first year of Kyle was hate saying it, but that was a dumpster fire of a team. You had to rebuild it from. You had to build it. You had to start somewhere, and he had very little to work with at that time.
Yes, he did. And I mean, Jimmy did come in. Jimmy did get us excited, and that sort of created the situation we're in right now, which gives us this salary right here, which triggers a comment that I did want to bring in from Caligula here that happened a little while ago. It's not about Jimmy G himself, but no team is willing to pay $25 million for a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo and his mediocre skills. He simply is overpaid, and everybody knows about that. No team will trade for this contract. So the only refute that I have to that is, in the case of someone like the Browns, if they feel desperate enough, they may. I think it's more likely that someone would want to extend that contract and make it more palatable. So maybe spread out that $24 million over several years and bring down the average per year for Jimmy Garoppolo. So his camp has expressed a willingness to renegotiate at this point. So I'm just not so sure that contract is the sticking point that most people believe that it is. I mean, even in the Baker Mayfield deal, he ate some of that contract because he knew that would facilitate the trade that he wanted. In Jimmy's case, if he doesn't eat a portion of the contract, he may get cut, not get any of that money, and not end up on a roster to start this year. If the cut happens so close to the start of the season that everyone's rosters are already set at that point, he may need to take a backup job. He may need to take less money. So I think there's a willingness to negotiate.
I mean, I look at it this way. Jimmy got $100 million from the 49ers. I can't have a ton of sympathy for him. I mean, he's made far more money than I'll ever make in my life within reason, unless I trip and fall and somehow get that kind of money. But I mean, then the 49ers put in all those outs in case they wanted to get out of having Jimmy not be the starting quarterback, and they, for whatever reason, they never took advantage.
Put in all these genius outs, and they were too afraid to pull on any of them. Right? They couldn't pull the shoot on any of these outs.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And one last thing is, when they said the 49ers don't have a top 10 roster, as of right now, I agree. You don't have an offensive line outside of Trent Williams. You're asking Aaron Banks to, I mean, if he could be a very good player, or at least a very capable player, that's good. And you know what I think about the center position.
Right.
And right guard, I think Brunskill is a backup at best, and you know how I feel about McGlinchey. I believe he's a pylon. Just waiting for someone to go around him.
It's highly suspect. I mean, even if you're more rosy, more optimistic than you are, which I would count myself in that group, I still have my question marks about this. If everything goes right, it feels pretty good. If Aaron Banks does take the next step forward, is more comfortable at left guard than he was at right guard, fills the left guard spot, and the news that we're hearing about Jake Brendel, the hype that we're hearing about Jake Brendel is true, even though he's someone that's been in the league a while and hasn't flashed that as far as I'm aware. That allows Daniel Brunskill to hold down the right guard spot, which I thought he did adequately during last season. And the return of Mike McGlinchey, as long as he is able to play well, would bode well for the 49ers as well. So it could work out, but if a couple of those things happen in the opposite way, if McGlinchey isn't ready to go, if Aaron Banks can't take the next step forward, if Jake Brendel is just a journeyman and is not capable of starting at center, and Brunskill has to then compete for the center role, like it could throw a lot of things off really, really quickly.
Yeah, that's what I'm not a dour person, not saying that I foresee, the black cloud staying over the team all year, but you haven't answered the questions of, can you prove that you can at the very least get to where they were last season,
right,
with this current set of players compared to the last set.
Right. And I would say if they can get to that same win total or better, I will count that as a win. The magical run in the playoffs, I wouldn't compare this upcoming season to the 2021 season because it felt not fluky, but so many things had to go right in order for us to advance to the NFC Championship game. So if we get 10 or more wins this year, I will count that as a quality season, regardless of what Trey is able to do in the postseason. I would be thrilled for him to get any postseason experience, regardless of the outcome there. Would you be happy with a 10 or 11 win season and, say a first round exit in the playoffs? Would you consider that to be a good end to this season?
It would be. It'll be a pretty decent end. I'm not gonna. I would like it to hold the big one at the end, but if that can't happen. If you at least make the playoffs and take your chances, that's all you could ever really ask for.
Well, I think these two comments are related. I apologize, Philip, if they are not, but I saw Niner by Nature came in to say Trey's about to win MVP and the Super Bowl this year. Let Jimmy go, to which I think Philip's super chat here is, don't put it on Trey. He's a big boy now, meaning that, this is Trey's time to shine. I interpret that to be that, you shouldn't expect the outcome from Trey. You just got to wait and see. That's how I'm choosing to interpret Philip's comment here. But I would agree that I'm not going in with huge expectations. I'm attempting to stay patient. I'm going in with the belief that Trey is going to have some ups. He's going to have some downs. And I'm going to be patient with the young gentleman, as I tried to be with Jimmy Garoppolo as well.
That's how I'm sensing it, feeling it too. And, we can't expect Trey to be, the second year of Dan Marino scoring 48 throwing for 48 touchdowns. That's not, we don't foresee that happening.
Right.
If he gets anywhere near that, that's a bonus. I'm not going to, not want it to happen, but you don't foresee those kind of events or something like that happening.
Right. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So one kind of off-topic question.
All right, hit me with it.
Kind of sort of a fun one. When you go to the local like when you travel and go to local diners and not go to the big chains, what's the one thing you look for in the food? With the food, like.
Ooh, I mean, what I love, one thing that, as someone who waited tables a fair amount in my life, I've bartended, I've waited tables, did it for several years in college, did it in high school. And so I trust, if you build a good rapport with your server, I often trust recommendations. So I'm often after something that is unique to the area, something that they're known for, or something that a server will tell me like, hey, you're a fool if you don't try this item on the menu. So I'm looking for that unique item, something that gives me a true flavor of the restaurant or the area that I'm going to.
Okay. So you are still going to Minnesota for that joint practice before the that exhibition game?
That is the hope. I was hoping today in listening to Matt Mayoko's podcast that he would talk about whether one of those practices is going to be open to the practice as open to the public as they go out there to Minnesota. I'm hoping to be able to find that. We shall see. But yes, that is still on the docket. That is still my hope.
Yeah, let us know if you're going, and I'll send that recommendation for that boxcar restaurant. Or
all right.
I think it's more of a train car, but it's like, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see in the middle of the city. So
I'm all over it, my friend. I can't wait.
So just remember the bug spray.
Yes, I will. I get it all over this dome. I don't want mosquito bites all over the head. That's a nasty thing.
Yeah, that's no fun. So
yeah.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
Hey, always a pleasure. Take care, my friend. All right, we are bringing in, it has been a while since he has made the program, but we're thrilled to have him back, bringing in that Niner guy to the stream. How you doing today, my friend?
Dude, we're talking Jimmy. This is going to be fun.
It is Jimmy G time. Right before this, I got actually got a note from my father, who's out in Bend. I'm going to visit him this week. And he was talking about catching the mailbag episode yesterday. He was like, I'm so tired of the Jimmy questions, man. When is it just going to be over? So yes, even those that may be a little more calm in their coverage of the 49ers or in their passion for the 49ers are getting to that point of, hey, too much. We have had it up to here at this point. So I said it jokingly in the mailbag, but if the Niners care anything for our sanity, they'll factor that into lowering the compensation they're looking for just to ship the man out the door.
Well, to me, I feel like reporters heard Jimmy fatigue and said arm fatigue and just got him flipped. So that's what I thought kind of happened. It would make a lot of sense because I'm sure there's nothing to talk about except for Deshaun Watson, which the NFL does not want to talk about.
Right.
So there's something definite. So unfortunately for Trey Lance, he's got to deal with this.
He does. When I heard the start of, again, Mayoko's podcast that I listened to today, Barrow's article and Mayoko's podcast were two of, the best things that came out for 49ers content today. And when Mayoko started the podcast, like, I can't wait for the freaking training camp practices to start. I need something real to talk about. When Matty M is getting fed up with a dead period, that's when we have reached the point of no return.
Yeah, no, it's been tough this offseason. It's not been the most fun for Niner fans because it just feels like it's a shenanigan on a shenanigan on a shenanigan. It just keeps compounding. It's like, dude, just get us to football. Like at this point, just stop. Like no more. That's why I haven't been around. I've unplugged because I can't.
Good for you.
I can't deal with it anymore.
Yes,
the Warriors helped, but like I just fully unplugged.
That was a distraction, right? Take you out of it.
Yeah, you have to, because like this stuff, it's nonstop. So
Yeah. I wonder if the NFL at some point will tackle this last 6-week period, right? Slowly but surely, they have monopolized the entire calendar, save for this dead period. And maybe for their own sanity, they won't. Maybe league executives or team officials really want to have some period of time where they can go away with their families and have time away from the game. But otherwise, every other section of the calendar is filled up. And this truly is the blackout period. And unfortunately for the 49ers, they have one of those ongoing storylines that the national media can pick up at the drop of a hat and run with. And it fires up the fan base. No question about it. Quick question for you, because I just like this comment. It's clever. Great one, 765. It's a subtle shot here. Rob, just trade Jimmy to Seattle, 4 extra picks for Warner each year. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Goes back to Matt Barrows' piece on, does he miss out on some of those lurking linebackers? Yes, he does. So that I'd be okay with the trade to Seattle. Would you trade within the division?
Yeah. I mean, listen, the Niners have dug themselves in on this. They are trading Jimmy Garoppolo. That's it. They're trading him, or they're going to cut him at some point, or they won't cut him and take a comp pick in 2024, which to me is crazy. But they've dug themselves in.
That's an expensive compensatory pick at that point.
And you can't roll over the percentage of the cap that you would be able to roll over to help Trey Lance in year 3.
Right.
Which there's tons of things about how it's a gigantic. They're compounding some of their biggest contract mistakes.
Right.
I'm including D Ford in this, but that's, they took a shot. I get it. Kyle and John felt like they had to win, and it worked. So, it kept their jobs. But the one thing I will say, and I think it's very frustrating when you hear the national heads jump on the Niners because they aren't paying attention. They're not paying attention.
Right.
Because the thing that I'll get into is, who did Jimmy play in the first 7 games of the season last year?
Ooh, last year? I mean, it wasn't offhand. I'd have a hard time.
I'm sorry. I meant to say 2019. Sorry, 2019.
2019. I'd have a hard time coming to mind with most of them except for maybe Washington.
I got him. Jameis
What do you got
Winston,
for me?
Mason Rudolph,
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Kyle Allen, Case Keenum, and then Andy Dalton.
Ooh.
That is why we started off 7-0, not because Jimmy just wins. Okay?
Right.
Let's put things in perspective. When we started playing better quarterbacks, the team started losing, but it didn't matter because the team had a great start. They got to 13-3. We get to the playoffs. Jimmy's awful. Doesn't matter. And this is Jimmy Garoppolo's best year as a starter.
Yeah, absolutely. Statistically speaking, no question about it.
It was. He played all the games. He played pretty good at times. He played bad at times. It was a sort of a mixed bag.
Right.
But this is what we're talking about. After that season, Kyle wanted to move off him. He wanted him gone. The Tom Brady stuff came from somewhere.
Right. Looking in on Tom Brady. Absolutely. I mean, they ended up making what would seem like the wrong call there, right? They should have listened to their instincts.
Yeah, I feel like had they gone with Tom Brady, they might have won a ring. They would have won a ring last year.
Yeah,
I could see that. 2020. They maybe would have made the playoffs in 2020. I kind of believe Jack's argument on that, but I feel like they just examined Jimmy because the team wins. And today I lost it on PFF today. They put I think on Twitter, will Trey Lance be a top 10 quarterback?
Right.
To which I responded, it doesn't matter if he's top 10. He will be better than Jimmy. It doesn't matter if he's top 10. He could be top 20, consistently top 20. And this team will be better. They'll be in the playoffs. Everyone's asking the wrong questions. And it's insanely frustrating.
And so your belief here is he just needs to be as good or better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
He needs to be as good.
Yeah.
I mean the way he plays in general, he gets the ball out of his hands fairly quickly. He's got he's not perfect. He's not a perfect quarterback prospect.
No.
And nor should anyone expect him to be.
Right.
But the things he does well translate to Kyle's offense. And I think the thing people are getting wrong is they're saying that Niners he can't run Kyle's system, that he doesn't know how to run it. I fundamentally disagree because I feel like the 49ers are going to be more under center this season than they were last year. because Trey's used to taking handoffs. He's used to the deep play action fake.
Yeah.
You saw it against the Texans. When they ran a hybrid quarterback running system, he looked terrible. And that wasn't even his fault. It was just kind of a bizarre circumstance that popped up.
Yeah.
So to me, I feel like a lot of people are getting the conversation wrong when it comes to Trey and Jimmy. I don't know. That's my big take of it is
that makes a ton of sense.
The right questions.
And I think, from what I'm hearing, again, in the interview today between Matt Mayoko and Steve Young's comments around Trey's skill set and why he believes that he'll have success in this offense is that right now his greatest asset, as Steve lists it, is his processing ability, his ability to go through the reads. And that in combination with Kyle Shanahan, Steve was making the case that Kyle will be able to utilize that skill set, not lean towards the athletic ability, not lean towards the running ability, but instead lean towards his ability to find the open receiver and then scheme it such that the open receiver is not just a tight window throw, but a wide open receiver, because that's the type of skills that Kyle Shanahan has in play design, so that Trey doesn't have to be perfect in his accuracy, as Steve listed it, that being the area that Trey could continue to improve in, because tight windows are going to be tough for him in the near future. And so that seemed reasonable to me. That, again, just looking at reasons why Trey Lance could have success, to me, the positives outweigh the negatives. And I do get frustrated by this tendency to want to go towards Trey Lance will fail because skepticism about his ability to go forward and be productive.
I just feel like people didn't. I mean, I get it. The national heads didn't really care about the Niners when they played the Texans. It didn't matter. They were expected to win. They won.
Right.
They didn't, Sims even admitted to it. He's like, I didn't really watch the game, to be honest. They were expected to win. Trey won a game, but he won a must-win game that got them in order to the playoffs and to the NFC Championship game.
Right.
Now,
and let's be honest, there are teams, you can look at a team's record and say that is who they are, right? But at different points in the season, they are either surging or regressing. And I would argue at that point in the season that the Texans were sort of a surging lower tier team, still lower tier, but they were playing well, had just beaten the Los Angeles Chargers the week prior.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of my beginning shtick of this. But I know a lot of people in Twitter and the world are saying that all Jimmy does is just win.
Right.
Please,
even in Matt Barrows' piece,
those games.
Even in Matt Barrows' piece, that's sort of how he justifies the Jimmy's bad but Jimmy's also good. I was frustrated that was the path he took to saying why Jimmy is skilled. I believe you can make a very succinct argument for Jimmy being an average starting quarterback in the NFL. And I think that's nothing to sneeze at, right? That is one of the 20 greatest athletes at the position in the freaking world. So if you're 20th, that's not like an insult. People want to take it that way. But I would go with his ability to fit throws into tight windows, right? The quick release. I would hold those things he does not do well against him. And that's how I come to the idea of him being the 20th best quarterback. So I agree. People like to tell one side of it or the other. And the winning percentage thing is a very incomplete argument.
There's not a coach in the world that would have done a better job with Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, and Brian Hoyer playing quarterback. Anyone want to fight on that? I mean, it's just like, dude, like, what are we talking about here? Like, Bosa didn't play in those games. Debo didn't play in those games. Like, the Niners, you're comparing an dinosaur of a roster to the roster that won 13 games and then won 10 games last year.
Right.
It's completely different team. The only caveat is George Kittle but even in his first year, he wasn't George Kittle yet. That was year two. The funniest part is his best year of his career was with Nick Mullins.
Yeah.
Which is the funniest part about all of it. I don't know.
Nick Mullins got George Kittle paid.
He did. I mean,
I hope he bought him a car.
Yeah, he probably got him something. He was at Tight End University. I'm sure he got like a little snack pack or a Kittle favor, which is probably him throwing him into the water cooler or something like that. But yeah, I feel like everyone needs to calm down, let Trey figure it out because it's gonna take time. But this team is strong enough around him where it's not gonna matter. The only place where it could matter and the only real question mark is the offensive line. That's a very fair skeptical question is this offensive line going to be better than it was last year?
Yes.
I think they're gonna be more powerful because I also have a feeling that Brunskill is going to end up playing center and Banks are going to be playing guard, and they're getting more inside the inside zone and the power run scheme that way. I think it's going to be a bit of a scheme change, getting more inside the tackles, and that's part of the reason why you see the draft pick of Ty Davis Price with Elijah Mitchell and Trey Sermon. The three larger body backs who were built to not break down.
Yep.
So
and bring in the complimentary coach of Anthony Lynn, right? That all seems to mesh together for what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's trying to gauge what they're going to do. I know center is going to be a bigger question mark. I think Jalen Moore is a starting NFL player, though. Like, we don't talk about it, but that game he actually played left tackle against the Seahawks, he played well. Like when Trent Williams went down, he played well. Like he looked like an NFL left tackle, and that's much harder to do to look like an NFL guard.
It definitely is a tougher position. And the Niners do have depth there. That's actually, if I'm honest, sort of the concern for me is that you have enough players to certainly put together the right five and find a starting offensive line. But if you don't get the combination right at first, and then you plug and play and move guys around and you keep missing, and finally towards the end of training camp hit on the correct five, now they don't have time to gel together enough. So that's my fear, is that the Niners get stuck in this sort of game of musical chairs and moving people around to find the right configuration. But perhaps they already know what that is. Potentially early on, they see the difference between Brendel at center, Brunskill at center. I have my speculation of kind of a chalk outcome where it is Trent Williams at left tackle, Aaron Banks at left guard, Jake Brendel at center, Daniel Brunskill at right guard, and Mike McGlinchey at right tackle. But that's a dream scenario where sort of everything that I've been promised by rumors comes true. And I know that that's unlikely to happen.
I mean, yeah, it's more on the unlikelier side, and it may take them some time to get the offensive line right. Like that's something that could take some time.
Yes.
What I think a lot of people don't know, I played offensive line, defensive line, and linebacker in high school when I played.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing about offensive line, you can have the best, strongest guys, but there's no continuity. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Because you've got to be targeted correctly. You've got to get it done right, especially in the zone blocking scheme, because you're basically working 2-on-2s the whole game.
Right. Was just going to say, especially in Kyle Shanahan's system, right? You have to all be on the same page. You have to know what the man next to you is doing and trust that they're going to be able to hit their assignments as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I've been very frustrated by this whole thing. It's part of the reason why I've kind of unplugged.
Yeah.
Just wait till he actually plays a full season.
Yes.
Because you know what? Regardless of what any Jimmy best friend wants to say, is that Jimmy played one full season here. One. Yeah. Judge him on the one full season. Okay, it's pretty good. But 4 out of 5 isn't good enough. It's not good enough.
Right. And I mean, even though I will defend Jimmy against people who come in and want to attack him incessantly, I do agree with the summation from Steve Young again in his interview today when he talked about I would choose to play within Kyle Shanahan's offense. If I were still around, I would run towards that offense. I'm paraphrasing him here, but he talked about how Kyle Shanahan would probably be able to make Trey into the best version of himself and did make Jimmy into the best version of himself. And so when he goes to his next team, if that is true, and if he drops off from the inconsistency he was already at, I may have to reevaluate my opinion there. If it truly was Kyle Shanahan's system that made Jimmy seem like an average starting quarterback within the NFL, then, maybe I too had too big of a value on Jimmy Garoppolo in what I expected the trade to be at the beginning of this offseason.
I have a feeling it doesn't matter where Jimmy goes. He's not going to look particularly good. It just also because he's not healthy. He's coming off an injury.
Right.
If he does get moved, he's going to be learning the playbook late, unless it's Cleveland. But even then, he's going to learn the playbook late. It's going to look similar to Kyle, but it's not going to be the same.
Right.
He'll be changing offensive coordinators, changing teammates. He's not going to have the weapons he has here. He's not going to look good. He's set up to fail. And you know what, though? Part of that is his fault for not telling them they're getting the surgery.
Yes.
Because
he could have waited until a trade happened and then gotten the surgery. That would have been a possibility, but it did come as a surprise, apparently, to the organization.
Yeah, so that's part of it too, is that, maybe we should get a quarterback on this team that's invested in the team. I don't know. Crazy
It's
idea.
crazy. It's crazy idea. That Niner guy just coming up with these wild, zany ideas.
Yeah, no, it's like I feel like Zoolander, or I feel like Mugatu. I'm taking crazy pills.
Very nice. I want to bring in Bro Montana. I saw the super chat coming in. Sneakerhead here on the channel coming in to say, "What's up, Rob? Cheers, man. Keep up the great work. Appreciate you, Bro Montana. Cheers to you."
Respect, Bro Montana.
Yes. What a great handle, right? What a great name, Bro Montana.
That's a phenomenal name.
Yes, it is. All right, man. So you got anything else Niners related on your nine? Anything non-Jimmy, non-Trey related? Any camp battles you're going to have your eye on? I know that you go a little more in depth than the average fan, as I like to myself.
Yeah, no. So here's one. Jason, no, I'm sorry, Bear Baller, and put it on Twitter today. I guess he was talking with I think it was Jack, and they asked the question, who's going to be the 49ers' second best pass rusher?
Yes.
And it's actually a little bit more of an interesting question than you think, because you actually come up with quite a few different names. But my surprise name on that is Charles Menahue.
Yes. Yeah. I'm hoping for a breakout from Charlie here. Charlie's my boy.
Dude, he's size and speed is different. Looks like he actually cut some weight too to get faster.
Ooh.
So with that length, like I feel like he can pick up some of the stuff that Armstead doesn't want to do on the inside as well. I mean, if you look at his tape, he didn't pass rush much, but when he did, in particular, when he played against Tyron Smith, who's one of the best tackles in football, ran him over, just completely ran him over.
Man.
So I mean, I'm stoked for that. But other than that, no, man, I think that's it.
I liked Bay Area's prediction too on Kamoko Toure. I thought that was a sneaky signing that happens toward the end. I threw out the bold prediction on one of the previous mailbags. I'm predicting the Niners to take home the sack title this year. I think they grab it from Pittsburgh. There's just the depth at the edge position is insane on this team. And I predict it to be a very, very ferocious defense, and that these edge rushers will get after the quarterback.
I think the biggest thing that's going to help is a scheme change. I think the fact they're going to go into more press is going to give the pass rusher that extra half second. In particular, Nick Bosa, because Nick's not, he's a phenomenal player, but he's not the crazy fast athlete like Myles Garrett.
No, so right. More of a technician.
He's giving them the extra little half second to get there, I think is going to be the difference in this defensive sack totals.
Let's get that man a 20 sack season, huh?
That'd be sweet.
Yes, it would. Well, it was fantastic to see you, my friend. I'm glad that you made it back. I'm glad you got some time away too, because this has been a crazy off season. I've needed a few 4-day weekends myself just to step away from it and come back refreshed.
Exactly, man. Everyone take care of yourselves. Have fun with this, and we'll talk more as the Niners actually play football.
Hey, I appreciate you, and hopefully we'll talk again soon, my friend.
All right, buddy. Sounds good.
All right, take care. All right, we are bringing Jaguayo56 into the stream. Jaguayo, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing well. How about yourself, Rob?
I'm doing good. I can't complain. I would like a little resolution to this ongoing drama for the 49ers, but I'm preaching patience on the channel, and so I got to practice what I preach. I got to be patient myself. I have to just breathe. I have to remember it will all work itself out in due time, and pretty soon we're going to have actual practices to talk about, and it won't have to be hypothetical. It will get back to actual football.
That's right. It's 13, 14 more days before
yes, we are camp? I think 13. Yeah, we are at the 13th, and it is the 26th. It is less than 2 weeks away. That's spectacular.
There you go. As far as the camp battles, the ones I'm kind of checking out is the safety.
Ooh, yes. For Talanoa Hufanga and George Odom battling for that second spot.
Yes, because that's going to be pretty vital for us. Now that, for sure now Tart's with the Eagles.
Yes.
I think that's going to be an important one. And hopefully Hufanga has learned more in 1 year and he's ready to go. And hopefully he takes it, because it's his to take.
It is.
That's the way I see it.
Is that who you would predict if you were a betting man right now and you were laying down money on the line? Is that who you would take as your horse in this race?
If I was a betting man, Yes, but whoever takes it, I don't know. What I saw from him last year, he's very instinctual,
Yes.
but he needs to be able to read it and react quicker without thinking about it. That's the
Yeah.
main thing that I saw. And of course, he's a rookie. He was
Yep.
just thrown in there. That happens with rookies. But also the center position.
Oof.
That to me is and the reason I say the center is because depending on the center and how comfortable Trey's going to be, is going to make a big difference. And also, it's going to be important to be able to keep the young man, in one piece. We don't want him to be banged around.
And what's so frustrating to me about that is that's a position it feels like we've been working on since Kyle and John got here. And we just haven't invested what is needed to bring in the correct individual. I mean, you could argue that, we spent the money in free agency to bring in, the name is escaping me, but the gentleman who was our center for the majority of the 2019 season, the big free agent that we had brought in.
From the Giants. He was from the Giants, right?
Yes, exactly. I'm sure someone in the chat will hit me with, or the name will just pop in when I stop thinking about it. But that was really the only time where we invested considerably. You could say that it was a moderate investment in bringing Alex Mack aboard, but you always knew that was a Band-Aid because he was at the tail end of the career, even if he had decided to play one more season. And the Niners didn't draft his replacement. So it has felt since, it was coming to me. I almost had it.
Also,
Weston Richburg. There it is.
Yeah, Weston Richburg, exactly. But before that, it was Goodwin, the guy we got from the Saints. He was the one that came in with the Harbaugh years, and he really settled down the line. He was a great acquisition, but he was like the best center that we've had for a while.
For a long time.
Yes.
And we always hear how important the center is within Kyle Shanahan's offense. So that does feel like an area where we haven't invested. It's been a continual need. And now we may see the downside of that. We got Trey Lance coming in. If that center position is weak, if they're unable to help out with protection schemes, that would be a concern for me. So yeah, that's something I'm keeping my eye on as well.
Yeah. So those are the top camp battles that I'm looking at. Real quickly, I know you don't want to talk too much. I know we have a Jimmy fatigue, but
that's okay.
But I wholeheartedly agree that it's Trey's time, but I'll always respect Jimmy for being a professional under difficult circumstances, and no doubt he was respected by all his teammates and coaches. Nobody ever, they all followed him. No matter what kind of a game he had, if he had a great game, an okay game, or a bad game, they always respected him and pulled for him. So that shows a lot as far as his character and just his professionalism. So I'll always he'll always be a 49er to me.
Yes, me too. That was sort of my thoughts when I put that out at the beginning of the program, that I too have fallen victim to Jimmy fatigue in having talked about this so much, so that I make the random joke about moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo. And my stance hasn't changed in the level of respect that I have for him. That was very eloquent in how you just spelled that out there. Jimmy could have tarpooned the entire season last year. It could have been a train wreck. And many people predicted that it would be. You have two, alpha males there in the quarterback room. Oftentimes the veteran guy takes more of that approach of, well, I'm not going to help the dude behind me. That's not my job. I'm here for me. I'm here to put the best effort out on the field, not prepare the next guy who's coming to take my job. And he didn't. And the teammates in the locker room respected him for it. They already loved him, but they continued to ride with him. And I agree with you that I believe Jimmy Garoppolo deserves a fond send-off when he does go. We forget how dark it was in 2017 when he rode in and helped us get those 5 wins. And while he wasn't solely responsible for anything that happened in 2019, he was very much a part of that team that was so special to me. So I agree with your sentiment. I will think back on Jimmy fondly as a 49er, as I do on pretty much all past 49ers. There was only one when Dion left us in 95 to go to the Cowboys. I was angry as a teenager. I couldn't deal with that. That was a rough one. But other than that, I'm with you. When they leave, they're still a Niner.
And the other thing is, that if for some reason, we have a down season, I mean, of course, I don't want that, but I mean, if you know how sports is, every
Yeah,
season is a different type of season. Just because you won the Super Bowl one year doesn't mean that you're going to make the playoffs. Nobody's going to give you anything.
especially in the NFL.
In the NFL, because injuries or somebody gets hurt on another team, or you get hot, or they get hot during the down the stretch, it can change things. But if for some reason we do have a down season, I hope that all the faithful have patience for the young man, and
Yes.
don't start to tear him down right away. Well, it was a mistake. Well, we gave up too much. Hey, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. We just got to ride with him. We got to
Yes.
ride with him and support him. Even if he throws a couple of interceptions here or there, we just got to. That's why we're called the faithful,
Yes.
right? If you don't want to be called the faithful, then go root for somebody else. That's just the way it is, right?
I love
And
it. You have to have that patience because he is a young quarterback. He's going to have those growing pains. He's going to have those mistakes, and you don't want to bail on him too quick, right? You have to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm with you. You win some, you lose some. It wasn't Trey's idea to trade everything that the Niners did to move up and select him. He's just trying to be the best player out there that he can be, and it may take him a year or two to really grow into the position. And you don't want to give up on him too early and then have forfeited all those draft picks for nothing.
that's right. And of course, in sports, right? In any sport, you win as a team and you lose as a team.
Yes.
There's no, every single person that goes to a championship wins a championship in any sport. The guy that is on the end of the bench, he deserves as much that ring as the star players. You know
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
because he went through the training camp. He sweated his ass off. He was right there bleeding. He was the guy doing all these things that they don't get recognized for. But at the end of the day, the players and coaches on his with him, they recognize his value. You
Yes.
know, and but that's about it. I just wanted to say. Oh, and one last thing, just with Jimmy, you know, if we all remember, and it's we're prisoners of like what happened. What have you done for me lately?
Right.
But
Recency
when Jimmy,
bias.
yes, but when Jimmy came, I can remember the elation that all of the faithful, the whole Bay Area. Oh my God, we got ourselves a quarterback. You know, but that's just the way it is. The
Yes, it
position of the
is.
of the quarterback position is you gotta produce. But
Yep.
but let's not get it all twisted. But either
No,
way,
don't
I wish
rewrite
him.
history. Don't rewrite how you felt about him in that moment. Just
Yes,
because you're ready to move on now doesn't mean that you can't appreciate what he was able to do with this team, some of the ways in which he contributed. I just want to bring this on while you're still on with me, Jaguar, because Chris is responding to your earlier topic. Chris Royal coming in with the super chat. Talanoa Hufanga is the dude I'm excited to see this year. The dude has an aura about him that makes you want to root for him. I predict a jump. I'm liking that prediction. I certainly have my eye on him. He's the guy I'm rooting for to take this position. And I agree with Chris's assessment here that he's an easy dude to root for. When he came on and spoke for after the Packers game, just such an easy dude to root for, such an easy guy to like when he speaks at the podium.
and he's a football player, right? Let's just
Yes.
right. He's a football player. I want those kind of guys. I like that kind of guy. You come, go and hit somebody. Go and
Yes.
hit somebody. Make a statement. And but yeah, I'm rooting for that. So thank you for taking my call as usual, Rob. You stay blessed. I hope everybody's healthy in your family. And say hi to
Thank
your
you.
dad. Say hi to your dad from one of the faithful
I
when
certainly
you get
will.
to see him. And God bless you guys. And
Hey, bless you as well. Thank you so much for coming on the channel. Really appreciate the conversation as always.
all right, thank you, Rob.
All
Bye.
right. Take care. We'll see you soon. All right. We are bringing William Bennett on to the program next. Very excited to bring in my man, William. How you doing, sir?
Good, sir.
Hey, cheers, my friend.
Yeah, I know I've been MIA for a little while. It's been really, really busy with work.
Hey, that's okay. It's been the dead period too, so it's not like we're not hitting the same topics over and over, right? It's all speculation at this point. But 13 more days, and then we get practices, my man. Are you excited to actually see some footage of Niners doing things?
I'm elated. I'm ready. I am so ready for football. It is such a hard time of the year for me when that period between the Super Bowl to training camp is just like, oh, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, what am I gonna do?
Yes, I'm with you on that. Chris Royal coming in as per usual to say what's up to William OG Bennett, my man. He says, I love it. I love
Chris?
the camaraderie.
Hey man, Chris, that dude.
Yes, he is. Yes, both of you dudes are those dudes, in my opinion.
And you know you the best hype man in the business.
That is a skill set of mine. That is.
Hey, you the flavor of the faithful, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes. After a game, I do feel like a true hype. When we have won and that pure emotion is spilling out of me into the camera, I definitely feel like a hype man. I'm bringing everybody up with me.
Hey, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Absolutely.
Like you said, I'm just ready for some football. I'm just ready for some training camp and just ready for the preseason. I'm just ready for some football. I'm just ready to get started.
Yes.
In the path that the Niners are on now. Listening to the past caller, and he did touch on some things that were true. I'm a faithful, so I was there when we had those dead seasons like 2-14 and all of that. And
yeah,
here's people who with sucky teams talk mess to me. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have to eat those seasons. But you know, but like I said, you know, when Jimmy did come, I think he did at least make us relevant again. And
yes, he did.
By that, he kept our name really was not big in a lot of people's mouths, but he did help come and perpetuate that. So, you know, hats off to Jimmy for that.
Yeah.
I think
we had slipped into that territory of like sort of embarrassing, right? We had the Chip Kelly year, which was definitely embarrassing. And then we get our savior comes in with Kyle Shanahan, but we are a terrible team. And then it was the spark of Jimmy Garoppolo that really turned around the atmosphere that year.
I mean, it was rough because right now we were only known for pants on the ground.
Yeah. Little Mike Singletary, Vernon Davis interaction.
Goodness, we were only known for jokes.
Yeah, I want winners.
And I really, those were dark times.
Those were really bad. I mean, the Tom Sula years, as much as I liked Jim Tom Sula, the Tom Sula years were brutal.
Very brutal. Very brutal. Because around that time, we let go all our veterans. We had such a young, fresh team, and it was rough. So hats off again to Alex Smith because he battled with nothing around him. Usually a quarterback who's picked at his level in the draft has a veteran on the team to kind of mold him and give him advice. He had to come in there with a young team, not our best years, and just hit the ground running.
Yeah,
so
that was brutal.
So
he left, and then like when he was there, fans had mixed opinions on him, and then he left, and it seems as though fans have come around and had that warm and fuzzy feelings about Alex Smith. Do you think that will eventually happen with Jimmy Garoppolo? After Jimmy's gone for a couple of years, will fans start to soften on him and come back around to having those warm, fuzzy feelings?
The frustration is that he's here now and we're just ready to move on.
Yeah.
But once he's, where he lands, people will be more appreciative of Jimmy and what he did bring. But right now, fans just need that separation. I agree. Hey, it was nice to have you here, but we just need to move on. Um, but it's Trey time.
It is Trey time. Definitively Trey time.
And I just like the fan said, I mean the caller said, we just gotta be faithful and patient.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And people don't realize those two things go hand in hand.
Yes, they do.
It's a reason they call you faithful, because that means everything don't come when you want it. So you gotta be patient.
You
but
gotta have faith that it will eventually come.
Yeah, but hopefully, Trey will at least get us a good run this year to shut up the naysayers, because like I said, Trey's fighting a big battle because people are expecting so much from him.
Yes.
And you have the naysayers who expecting him to fail.
A lot of doubters out there. I mean, it does seem like an extraordinary number, or at least an extraordinary percentage of people assuming the negative about Trey Lance. It will be a relief just to have the reality out there, so that it's less speculation and more of a larger sample size of data to point to.
Well, I think that will dissipate when Jimmy's off the team.
You think that some of the negative storylines will come down as well once it's clear that Trey's the man?
There to keep that hype going. That's the one thing I say about Belichick. At first, I wasn't sure why Belichick was so quick to get rid of Cam, but then I understood. You can't have the locker room looking at the backup.
Right.
You can't have that type of controversy. You can't have, Trey makes a mistake. Oh, well, bring in Jimmy. Well, why Jimmy ain't in there? You know what I'm saying? Or players, Trey miss a pass and seeing, because the camera picks up everything.
Yes. And that's the sideline. If anybody looks to him, if anybody's talking to him, that's going to be the storyline.
Because the one thing I didn't like was when Trey did get to play and Trey would miss a pass or whatever, or have a bad pass. You'll see players go over there, and the first place they went over to was Jimmy. Jimmy, and I'm like, dude, don't do that on camera. I mean, but don't do that on camera. It just looks so bad. It's like you have so little faith in Trey.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But we got to realize, and the same thing with Hufanga. I think it was so much hype and things put on and said about Hufanga and expected of him that people don't realize Hufanga was a rookie.
Right.
Coming from college. You know what I'm saying? He was not a number one draft pick, but if you understand, the people who last the longest and around, and tend to be those Pro Bowler and Hall of Famers, usually don't end up coming out in the top of the draft.
No, right. A fair percentage of them are coming from the later rounds. It's all about work ethic. It's all about what you're able to make out of yourself when you get the chance. Right now, he's got a prime chance to come in there and show what he can do.
The reason why I think Hufanga will do well, and I think he will do well this year, is because when you have people who don't have everything handed to you on a platter, or your skill level isn't up there to where you're in the number one drafts and all of that, you have to work harder.
Yeah.
You have to have certain truths with yourself, and you have to learn to work around things and be smarter.
Yep.
And I think with his exposure last year, I think we will see the benefit of that exposure.
It's a great point, because you got to scrap and claw for everything when you don't have that God's gifted physical ability, right? He may not be the fastest out there, but he's willing to make up for it in other ways, being instinctual, hitting hard, and those things are real strengths within the NFL that if he can play to them enough and minimize any weaknesses he has, he absolutely could have success.
Exactly. And the thing is about Hufanga that I think that I've noticed with him last season, he has great awareness. He has awareness. You feel what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna tell you, he
does have a nose for the ball. That's for sure.
When that failed kick was in the air, I was looking on TV and I didn't see the ball at all. I didn't know where it was. And the players, nobody else did neither. But for Hufanga is like he had that awareness, like he already knew where to stand.
Yeah.
Because
that was wild because I was in the stadium. I heard that block. And then I saw Hufanga. He was all over that. All over that
ball where I was looking at other people like they were kind of lost.
Yeah.
But I think last year exposure, and now he's getting maybe more reps, and knowing what his limitations are. Because, like I said, you're one thing in college, and you come in the NFL. If you're smart, you gotta be honest with yourself about your weaknesses.
Yeah, you're gonna have to evolve to make it in the NFL if you're not physically gifted like some of those first round picks.
You have some people who just say, I'm all right, I'm okay, I'm good enough, I made it to the NFL.
Right.
I was watching Hard Knocks with the Houston Texans, and even though TJ Watt was the star of the team and making so many millions of dollars, it showed where when the team was gone, he was still at practice.
Man, JJ Watt earning it.
You cannot talent. The one thing that happens, talent fades with time. You're not gonna always be the fastest guy in the parking lot.
Right.
You have to learn. It's the same thing with Jordan. Yeah, Jordan started out running and dunking, but as he got older and them knees started getting weaker, Jordan had to learn to shoot.
Right. I mean, hell, look at Jerry Rice. He outworked everyone in the league. That was, in my opinion, what made him so special was his commitment to the craft, to work at it consistently, to challenge himself physically and mentally. And I mean, he was never the fastest guy out there, and yet he was wildly the most productive.
I watched a show that came on, I'm not sure if it was Showtime or HBO, and it was called The Great One. And it had all of the greatest athletes on it. Jerry, oh man, don't get me wrong. Hockey fans, don't kill me.
Oh, Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah. Muhammad Ali, like people who really set the bar. Michael Jordan, all these who they were just like, these people are just phenomenal talents and legends that will always be remembered in history.
Yeah.
And one thing, even though the one thing that each of them said that made them different than everybody else around them, they all said, I was not the best at my position when I started. None of them said, yeah, I was just smoking right out the cradle.
Right.
They all said I was not the best at my position. But the one thing that each of them said is their work ethic. They said, yeah, it was the best, but my work ethic was out the door. And they said at some point in their career, whether it was collegiate or high school or wherever, somebody bashed them and challenged them. And that just lit a fire in them. Like we always say, it's not about, all right, I'm gonna take this excerpt from Rocky, but don't copyright me. But as Rocky said, it's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get up. If you remember Rocky IV, Rocky never was stronger than Drago. He was never Drago to where Drago was flying all over the ring, but he wore him down. He was never better than Apollo Creed, but he wore him down. He was never better than Trevor Lane, but he wore him down. So it's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get up. And then it's about what you do with it when you get up.
Yes,
so,
sir.
You know,
I mean, I see everything you just said there inspires me with regard to Trey Lance. Like I see that as the work ethic, the willingness to fight through it, people talking a little bit of trash, using that as motivation. Like I see that as what's happening to Trey this offseason. That gives me motivation that much like Rocky, Trey's going to keep getting up every time he gets knocked down.
This is what you're going to see from Trey. The Trey we seen last year that played those 2 games or a couple 2.5 games, is not going to be the Trey you're going to see this year. You're going to see a young man who's way more confident because he done bust his cherry in the NFL. He's going to be way more confident. He's going to have a better idea of what he should be doing and what he can do. He's going to get more first team reps.
Yes.
So he's going to have it. The focus will be on him.
Yes,
so,
it will.
And the other thing about it, Trey, like I said, never was in the NFL. That was his rookie season.
Right.
His father got to watch. And I'm going to promise you, this offseason, his father played in the NFL, was talking to Trey. Trey, this is what I seen you're doing wrong. This is what I know what Kyle's saying to you, but I've been coaching you your life. I know your real skill set. This is what I see you've been doing wrong. And the one thing, and nothing against Kyle, but Kyle is going to have to let Trey be Trey sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Allow that athletic ability to just jump off the page.
You know what I'm saying? You can't tell a cheetah keep it under 55.
You can't slap a governor on a cheetah. You got to open that thing up, open the throttle up.
Sometimes I'm going to tell you something simple as this. And this is what makes a true winner. This is what makes these real GOATs. When things don't go according to plan, that's when your real GOAT says, how you say it in any given Sunday, give me the ball.
Yes.
Said in replacement, winners always want the ball.
Yes.
You feel what I'm saying?
I do.
You got to take that line and say, look, Trey, stuff ain't going to plan. This is what is ahead of us. What you think? Man, this is what I'm diagnosing, but you're out there. If it's something you're saying, hey, you're my guy.
Yeah. Potentially Kyle growing a little bit and being less of a control freak, because it has been noted that he sort of is, that he's a perfectionist, that he likes his offense run a certain way. But in this instance where you do have an athletically gifted young quarterback, to your point, it could be advantageous to allow him to improvise a little bit, much like you see Patrick Mahomes out there doing.
I'm going to play devil's advocate right here. So, I'm with Trey, but I'm going to play devil's advocate right here.
Cool.
When Jimmy first came to our team, I think the thing that limited Jimmy was that knee. I think Jimmy down the field throwing, you got to understand, I've played baseball and I coach football. And some people who are not really don't really know the mechanics of throwing, it doesn't come from your arm.
Right.
It comes from your axle. It comes from your lower half. A man's axle is in his hips and a woman in his pelvis, and a woman's axle is in her chest. That's where their center of gravity is. And I'm telling you, when you throw a ball, and I had to learn it myself because I used to get arm fatigue throwing that baseball, and I'm like, and it was going wild, and I'm just like, yo, I'm throwing it as hard as I can. And it took one of my teammates to coach and say, no, you're throwing it wrong. And I had to practice. And he said, he said, look at my chest. He said, you're not going to hit me. He said, but look at my chest. He said, your mechanics is all off. He said, you're throwing from your shoulder. And I promise you, you're going to get tired. Your shoulder's going to start hurting. Yeah. He said, you're throwing from your stance. You're throwing from your hips. That's where your power is coming from. He said, your arm is just to guide the ball. Right. He said, do not release the ball until your hand is down near my chest. And my pitching, my soreness in my shoulder all went away. My pitching, my throwing became better, all of that. So
man, that's the mechanics work that we need happening this offseason for Trey Lance. I just want to bring this in because I had CJ down there waiting. CJ wanted to get to you for sure, but I like this idea. If you want to pop back on, be happy to get the three of us on here to wrap up this show. We got a few more minutes to close out here. I don't have a hard out at 6:30. Just wanted to say that. CJ wanted to get you in if you could. William, you up for a little quick roundtable here if we pop CJ in?
You know this.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Let's get this thing going. I see CJ down there. We're getting CJ into the stream. CJ, we got a dark picture here, but can we hear you?
I'm
see you out.
Yeah, I'm here.
Nice, nice. Glad to have you on, my friend.
There we
go.
I had to get my hat back on because I had on a different hat.
Yes.
But then I couldn't get on, so.
Yes, sir. I like the drip right there. It's looking good.
All right. Had to get it on. Had to represent.
Yes, sir. Man. All right. So I know, CJ, you had some thoughts on Jimmy that you wanted to bring in. I know William and I can bounce off of that for sure. What were some of the thoughts that you wanted to bring to the table on the Jimmy Garoppolo topic?
Well, I just wanted to state that I never believed in Jimmy. I wanted to get that out there. A thing that hit my mind throughout the week was thinking about my son asking me during the 2019 season, him asking me, "Dad, do you believe in Jimmy?" And I was like, I don't know. And then from there, I was like, I don't believe in him, because if I'm saying I don't know, and we got an 8-0 football team,
that says something, right? If you're sitting pretty at 8-0,
go ahead. I just don't know how often you have a team that's 8-0 and the quarterback's not the catalyst.
I mean, it's very infrequent where you have that situation where it's not a significant impact from the quarterback. I mean, I ride the middle there. Like, I get what you're saying there. I think it is fair to be skeptical of Jimmy Garoppolo. I think it's fair to question his limitations. I think it was astute of you in 2019 to spot some of those inefficiencies. I was pretty on board with the hype train at that point in time in 2019 because we were riding high, right? But it's fair to point out that he has his limitations. I think we have reached those limitations. So I share that. If you had to rank him, like, where would you put Jimmy Garoppolo? Do you see him as a starting caliber quarterback? And if so, where would you rank him out of like the top 32 starting quarterbacks in the league?
I have him from the 17th through 20th range. And that's kind of where
okay. So you're right where I am as well. Okay, that makes perfect sense. And so you're just ready. You think we have reached the end of what Jimmy can do in elevating this team and ready to move on to Trey Lance. Is that a fair summation?
Yeah, it's a fair summation. And what is frustrating me, like, the Niner guy came on earlier. That's why I was debating whether I was going to get on or not.
Yeah,
it's because the Niner guy came in here and he totally illustrated my feelings about the situation thoroughly.
Niner guy's been a frequent roundtable guest, and he's got some succinct opinions on Jimmy. That's for sure. William and I have gone back and forth with that Niner guy for sure.
Yeah, the Niner, it's just, and I think that I was watching Brad and Jason on the State of the Franchise earlier.
Nice.
I like to cite my sources when I'm bringing my narrative.
I love it.
There was pretty much like, basically, that within outside of that 10 to 15 yard range, he can't consistently make throws. And then what you found out towards the end of the season, especially last season, was that teams would just play 8 or 9 in the box. They'll just, and in effect, they're ready for the run and the pass.
Right.
It's like it's like how does that happen?
Yeah,
so
that was going to be my thought on it as well. Is like, now you have not only taken away what Jimmy does well and it can't seem to push beyond it, but you've also taken away the run game, which is so important to the 49ers offense.
If I can interject.
Yeah, William, please come on in.
Go ahead.
The reason why I think, and like you said, and the problem we have with Jimmy and that his throwing is because, as I said, once he hurt his knee, once he damaged his ACL, Jimmy lost a lot of things. He never got really over the phantom pain of hurting that knee again. Trust me, I damaged my ACL. And even to this day, I still can feel it. And I still sometimes go up a step, depending on the weather, a little gingerly. I was blessed that I never had to have surgery on it. But that phantom pain can last you your whole life.
And it was illustrated by Jimmy, putting on that brace. Like he was clearly in his head about it.
I think the reason Jimmy took off that brace is because the media and the fan base just talked about it so much.
Yep.
He really, I bet you even now to this day, off camera, Jimmy still wears that brace.
Ooh, that would be interesting if he did.
I bet you under his pants or sometimes off camera, golfing or whatever, he puts that brace on sometimes, going jog, something like that. I'm trying to tell you, that phantom pain is a monster to get over. And as I said again, to make those deep throws, you're not throwing from your arm, you're throwing from your base. Yeah. And he don't trust his base.
Right. That makes it very difficult to put your whole motion into the throw. So that does beg the question, CJ, just going back to the 2017 season, when you watch that small sample size of those 5 games, what was your takeaway of Jimmy there? Because to Williams' point, that's pre-injury, so he hadn't lost that velocity. I just noticed I got my sunshine in the back. I'm starting to turn into my witness protection program. I got to turn up my lights here. But what was your thought? What were your thoughts on Jimmy 2017 when he was lighting the world on fire then?
Lighting the world on fire. What is that? What is that?
You don't like that description to cover Jimmy's. I like it.
What does
Challenge
that mean?
it.
What does that mean exactly? Lighting
other than winning 5 straight, I think that's a fair statement.
I mean, Brian Hoyer was the quarterback before him, right?
Yes.
Brian Hoyer?
Yes. Brian Hoyer. And so it wasn't, the bar was not high for surpassing Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, so you had Brian Hoyer, you had CJ Beathard. I don't know if that was the year he was drafted, but if that was,
I believe CJ may have been 2018.
Yeah, CJ, I believe CJ was there already. I think that was the year they drafted Mullen.
Okay, all right, but fair point. But they still are starting backup level quarterback play.
Yes,
and
Brian Hoyer for sure, not a starting level quarterback.
No.
And then he turned the ball over. I think it was 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Was a stat line. So. Yeah. He started overall. He started 47 games, and he's turned the ball over like 47 times.
Yeah. By the way, just to interject, you were correct about CJ. CJ was drafted in 2017. Just to throw that out there.
Okay, and so it's a statistical probability that when Jimmy Garoppolo starts with a football team, he is going to give it to the other football team. It is a statistical probability that he is going to do it just by the stats that lay out. And so 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, it just don't to be honest, it don't really tell me that he's lighting the world on fire. It just tells me that we went from backup level quarterback play to a starting level quarterback play. Now
that's a very fair summary there.
So it's hard for me with these people. Yeah, bring Jimmy back. Yeah, Jimmy wins games and all these superlatives being thrown at Jimmy's feet. And I'm just like, I watch games, and I'm just like, so average quarterback.
We're having a little bit of choppiness there on the audio, CJ. It's still coming through, but it's a little bit choppy. But I hear you on that. That it is for speaking to Jimmy, those that want him back, and to your point, heap those superlatives on him. That's hyperbole. That is sort of rewriting history. I also believe that those who believe Jimmy is trash are also in the hyperbole. So I see most people in those two camps, whereas you and I seem to be in that reasonable zone, and I believe William is as well, where we see Jimmy's limitations. We also see that he brings some value, and we put him appropriately at that ranking of, somewhere in between 15 to 20 in where he falls in starting quarterbacks.
I would say Jimmy somewhere between 17 to 20. I would agree with that. Probably probably be as not as nice as putting him at 17. I would put Jimmy at 20, where he is right now, because it's not that he doesn't have a quick release and everything. He's just so predictable now. He's so predictable that it just pisses you off that they don't play him deep at all. They don't even try. It's like
they don't try, and he can't make them pay for it, right? That's the frustrating part.
And it's just so, and it ain't that Jimmy don't want to.
Right.
He wants to, because Jimmy gave you a flash of Jimmy back in 17 when he tried in the preseason, when he ran that touchdown in and almost got a concussion. That was Jimmy when he first came to the Niners.
Yeah.
Jimmy used to try to go. I mean, Jimmy wasn't, to me, ever really a starting quarterback, but he was the best backup probably in the NFL. At that time.
Yeah. Yeah, when he got traded initially for that second rounder. I mean, it was a complete unknown at that point.
I think he could have reached starter level, but that injury just sidelined that.
Yeah.
And he just never got out of that backup role.
Yeah, that was brutal.
You can tell the one time that Jimmy has a strong arm. You know how in the Super Bowl you seen it when he threw that ball to Emmanuel Sanders. That was arm. It didn't. That's why it didn't have no accuracy, because he just threw it as hard as he could.
Yeah.
That ball sat up there, and
it sat up there for a minute. I knew Sanders wasn't catch that. It was
that 40-yard pass.
Not that fast. For Sanders to catch that ball, he would have had to put on some rocket boosters. Like, been run out of his top speed and then somewhere just found another gear. Because I was like, that ain't even coming down yet. It is still up top. So, but like I said, this is the other thing I will say about Kyle on that. What if sometimes Jimmy would have wanted to try to do something a little different and Kyle just wouldn't let him?
Right. I don't think Jimmy has that personality where he would have pushed back against Kyle. I honestly don't think Trey does either. That's why I do believe Kyle needs to evolve in that way and trust Trey.
I think Trey does. And you know how I think Trey does have pushback to him? You've seen it last season in that Seattle game.
Okay.
When Kyle had him throw that ball down to that little short out to Debo.
Yeah.
And he went onto the field and Debo had to pull Trey to the side, like, leave it alone. Trey was giving pushback then, like, Joe, I could have took off. It's other things I could have did with that. But that was Kyle telling him, no, just do what I say.
Right.
You know, you got to understand, Kyle sometimes can get in his own way. Look what he did to Debo in that championship game. Debo took it upon himself to beat the Cowboys. Kyle said, you'll never show me up again like that.
Ooh, I sure hope that wasn't what was going through Kyle's head. I hope that he
maniac
brain fart moments. All right, let me do a final roundtable question just to get both of your opinions on how this saga ends, because I think we all want it to come to some close with Jimmy. So, CJ, what are your thoughts on how Jimmy Garoppolo finally does exit the 49ers? Do you think that it's a trade, a cut? Do you think it happens this month, or do you think we need to be patient because it could drag on maybe even into the start of the season?
It's a cut, Rob.
It's a cut. A cut and then fade to black there. I like that. That was good timing.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, this is like StreamYard doesn't play well with my Wi-Fi. So I go to my LTE on my phone, and so then it's just either going to be stuttery or it's going to be dropping me. So
yeah, right. Well, hey, I'm glad to have you on anyway. Okay, so you said cut. Is it going to be this month or is it going to bleed into next month? And do the Niners flirt with that August 30th deadline before they cut him?
I hope not. I hope that, well, one or two things.
Yeah.
Either A, we cut him before training camp, or B, we put them on ice. We don't let him touch the fat practice field. We don't let him touch a preseason game.
Right.
We don't let him do nothing.
Yeah.
But put on a video that shows, hey teams, look, he throws the football. Outside of that, we don't need to be doing nothing else with him, because as you know, if he gets hurt, it is pay up time for us.
Yep, and you owe him everything. All right, I like that, CJ. I like that prediction. William, what are your thoughts on this? How does this saga finally come to a close?
If we cut him late, I'll be a little upset, because I'm like, you should have just went ahead and did it. You should have just went ahead and did it. Why drag it out like that?
Right.
But I think it will come down to the health of Jimmy's arm. If it's true that he will not be ready all these for the training camp and games into the season, then yes, he's gonna be cut. But if Jimmy can show some moderate, at least, health of throwing the ball, I think Jimmy will be traded. I think there are teams, I know, but I think there are teams that would want Jimmy. Will he start? I don't know. But you still have teams that can backpedal. Like, look at the Giants. The Giants say, yeah, with Daniels, but you can get in training camp and say, this dude he still looks the same. Are we willing to just risk it all on him? You feel what I'm saying?
I do. If I've got to pick one direction or the other, I'm sticking with the trade. I've been saying it for a while. I am fully prepared to have more egg on my face and be wrong about that. It's entirely possible that the Niners may cut him. I would guess that it does spill over into August. I just don't. What's that, William?
Yeah, I just hope it ain't Seattle.
Yeah, me too.
I'm worried about him playing for Seattle. It's just, I just don't want to see no Niner go to Seattle.
No, you don't want to feed the enemy like that. I hope it is sooner rather than later, but I think my fear is that it plays out. But gentlemen, this has been fantastic. I got to bring in, because Chris had the super chat earlier. That was fantastic. Talking about, of course, there's a freaking round table. Figures. Didn't stick around. But Chris, we will make it happen again. This was a mini round table. Happened off the cuff. I was thrilled to have both of you gentlemen on. William, CJ, thank you so much for being a part of the stream. I truly appreciate the contributions. Cheers to both of you. Thank you so much for coming on. All right, gentlemen, you take care. I will see you both again soon. I love it. You both got mugs. Wait, let's three-way cheers here. Get those mugs up in front of the camera. That's the way we're closing this thing out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a fantastic show. You know the drill. Until next time, I'm gone for the weekend. Cheers, faithful. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of it. I will see you all again soon. Take care, everybody.